I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How about this presentation? Is someone going to come forward, or are we going to do this for this bicycle? Who's there? Who's here? George? There's George. Okay. George, you want to come on down? Sure. Thank you. Chairperson, you have a presentation you want to make to the city?
I do. I want to grab the sign.
Okay, go ahead. Your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Julia. So, thanks, Gary. On behalf of the Bicycle Advisory Committee, it is my pleasure to present the certificate evidencing our designation by the League of American Bicyclists to the city of Port Angeles and Clallam County. We are now officially a bicycle-friendly community. This was truly a community effort with the public works departments, law enforcement agencies, transit system, Pope PA School District, Peninsula Trails Coalition, as well as various bicycling groups who contributed material content to over 90 questions on the application. This was a long application. The League of American Bicyclists has thoughtfully and effectively developed a designation process which guarantees continued effort on the part of the successful applicants, bicycle-friendly communities. What this means, in effect, is that they have asked us to form this Bicycle Advisory Committee, and it is to meet regularly for the next 4 years because our designation only is for 4 years. So the League has shrewdly motivated all of us to keep working on it. In fact, we received a bronze designation, and the next step is silver and then gold. There are several hundred bicycle-friendly communities. There are only 4 platinum level communities. It's very difficult to reach the very highest achievements. But I did want to say that the importance of this is positive change, which involves bicycling in general, which is a lot of fun. But on top of that, it involves community health. I want everyone to know that is really number one. You get people, children, teenagers, young adults, parents, and the elderly, and now even disabled Americans, to get them on bicycles is just a widely accepted good thing. I would say that your Bicycle Advisory Committee has already met twice since we were designated, and we are already working on our reapplication 4 years from now. That is a wonderful set of suggestions by the League, which we are taking to heart, and we will do things that will make us in a stronger position in the very near future. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about another wonderful community that was designated. The Jamestown Sklallam tribe was the first Native American tribe to ever apply, and it was granted a bronze designation, so we should be all very proud of the fact that our county now has, besides the Jamestown Sklallam tribe, City of Port Angeles, Clallam County, and City of Scranton. So we have one of the highest numbers of bicycle-friendly communities in the nation. With these brief remarks, I just want to recognize somebody standing over there who I think he wore his bicycle helmet. But as part of the process of being a bicycle-friendly community, you have to have a bicycle program manager, who in effect is the contact person for the League of American Bicyclists. And we all owe a lot of thanks to Craig Fulton to assisting getting the application done and having all the information safely sequestered so that next time we apply, we will have all of the stuff. Last but not least, I just wanted to tell you that the city of Port Angeles is joining 65 million other Americans who live in bicycle-friendly communities. And I'll present this to you.
We're not done yet. So with that sign, we also have a bicycle-friendly community certificate that we can proudly post in our city hall here. But there are a lot of people involved. First off, there's always one person who is the heart and soul of what the group and the what's happening, the event or what have you, and that's George Berger. If it wasn't for George, the idea wouldn't come up. We wouldn't have been getting the kicks in the pants, you know, to schedule the meetings and moving forward and gathering. He knows just about everybody in Port Angeles, and it's the heart and soul of this designation and the future designations with George Berger. But there are a number of other people who are involved that I want to recognize. Randall McCoy, Jeff Bowman, Pat Downey, Terry Gallagher from the Public Safety, Nathan West for planning, Bob Martin from the county was instrumental, Kevin Galacci of Column Transit, Tina Smith O'Hara supplied all the information for the schools, because education is a huge part of that designation. And then we also had support from our local bicycle businesses, Tom Mikowski of Bike Garage, and then Sam Chandler of Ben's Bike and Squim, who really gave us the initial information to move forward on this. So I want to thank those people who put in a lot of effort to. It was a pretty big survey and a lot of information, and it took all of them to bring that forward. One other thing I want to announce, to continue on education, one of the 5 E's of this, education and encouragement. Next Wednesday, at the waterfront, I've sent out an email to all city staff and all council members that we're going to have a bike ride. So at 5:30, actually meet at 5:15 at the waterfront, you know where the bar hop is, because we might be there afterwards. But so anyone's invited. So bike ride, we're going to go down Ludwig Discovery Trail to the east. There is no distance involved. It's just a leisurely half-hour bike ride out, a leisurely half-hour bike ride in. Perfectly kid and family friendly, so kids on tricycles can come. And it's just 1 hour of having fun out there. So next Wednesday at the waterfront, bring your bike, bring your kids, bring your family, and we'll go down the Olympic Discovery Trail. And then so happens there's music on the pier that night, and bar hop and other establishments can be frequented after the bike ride, where I will be. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're at public comments. Carrie, we have a list of people who are signed up. Thank you. Cynthia, you?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Cindy Hewitt. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. We just wanted to take a few minutes and give you an update of what we're doing here in the community. So thank you for this time. As you know, we are building a house here in Maloney Heights, and we had a special group of volunteers about a month ago that joined us, the RV caravanners, that put us 5.5 weeks ahead of our schedule. So we're hoping to be finished probably in the October timeframe. You'll get invitations to the dedication for that, so that's very exciting. The caravanners are a program of Habitat volunteers around the world that travel to different Habitat affiliates and give us 2 weeks of their time, usually in 4 to 5 big rigs like a RV or a fifth wheel. They come into town, stay for 2 weeks, and just work for us. And we just got a report card back, and they said that we were the poster child for the Caravanner program. So we take great pride in that. They've spent days here and the weekends and enjoyed this beautiful area we live in. We currently have 4 rigs working for us out in the Forks area right now as we're building out there as well. So we're going to take advantage of that kind of resource to bring more people here to this area and brag a little bit about the peninsula here. Another thing that we've been working on, we had a really great meeting with Nathan West and also with Patrick, and we're going to be looking at neighborhood revitalization as we go forward. You're going to see that going on with more and more Habitat affiliates. In addition to serving low-income families with home ownership, we're going to be helping other low-income families that already exist in our communities with perhaps a brush with kindness, maybe doing an exterior paint fix-up or helping with fencing or roofing, perhaps critical repair and even weatherization. And so that's going to allow Habitat to serve more low-income families in our communities in Clallam County. So we'll be working with our cities on that. Thank you, Nathan, for your time, and Patrick for your interest on that as well. And with that, I want to introduce Colleen Robinson, our Community Outreach Director, and she has a quick announcement. Thank you.
So you may see in front of you the way that we're going to do these things and make them come to fruition is we need to raise funds. And one of the ways we're raising funds is we are collaborating with the Jamestown Tribe this Saturday, having a wine festival from 3 to 6 there on Woodcock Road. Love to have you join us. You can buy tickets online or you can buy them at the door. And just another step in the direction in order to fund things that we want to do here for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Hello, Shannon.
Good evening. You have received a package today in front of you, which is different from the one that I distributed by means of your secretary yesterday. With liberty and justice for all is proclaimed in our Pledge of Allegiance. This City Council is noteworthy for patient and fair consideration of citizen concerns. A previous council, however, took away 2 basic rights guaranteed by state and national constitutions, or we thought they were, when they prescribed fluoridation of municipal water. The present council now has the knowledge and the power to resume those rights, effective on conclusion of the city contract with the Dental Foundation. Tonight, I ask that you restore those rights. Exhibit 1. Call versus Chehalis. In a 5-4 decision enabling fluoridation, the dissenting 4 state Supreme Court justices in 1954 wrote, "What future proposals may be made to treat non-contagious diseases by adding ingredients to our water supply or food or air, only time will tell. When that day arrives, those who treasure their personal liberty will look in vain for a constitutional safeguard. The answer will be, you gave away the Constitution in the Call case. Please restore our right to control all of our own medication." Exhibit 2, a one-pager, email from the State Department of Health, Joseph Benzovix, to your own Ernie Clinic, City of PA. Department of Health would not object to the discontinuation of fluoridation if the community chooses to do so. Exhibit 3, Newsweek. Fluoridation may not prevent cavities, scientific review shows. The Cochrane review of fluoridation concludes there is no proof that water fluoridation prevents cavities. Fluoridated toothpaste, however, is effective. Water fluoridation causes dental fluorosis, which as of the year 2004 affects 58% of Americans of African heritage and 36% of whites. Dr. Tom Lott testified in 2003 that the York Review 2000 was a gold standard regarding fluoridation. The chair of the advisory board for that review, Professor Trevor Sheldon, Dean of the Hull York Medical School in the United Kingdom, states, "I had assumed, because of everything I had heard, that water fluoridation reduces cavities. I was completely amazed by the lack of evidence, he says. My prior view was completely reversed. The CDC, even in light of this study, holds to its beliefs regardless. Professor Sheldon observes the CDC and others, quote, are somehow suspending disbelief. They are all in the mindset that this is a really good thing and just not accepting that they might be wrong, unquote. This sheds some light on why City Council of 2003 voted for fluoridation. That council mistakenly trusted assurances of doctors and dentists, who in turn trusted CDC. The council relied on authority figures, institutional endorsements, individual beliefs, quote, the experts, unquote. Time and science have proven them wrong. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gail Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council and taxpayers. First of all, I want to echo Dr. Ken's remarks and call on you to stop fluoridating the water. Stop immediately. If you recall, when you first put this to a vote before you ever started fluoridation, the people were against it 62%. Now I understand you want to put it to an advisory vote to see what the people want to do. We hired you for leadership, and we expect you to show some leadership. Don't put the community through that vote and having divisive arguments again. Just show them leadership. It only takes 4 of you, and you can stop this at the end of this current contract. Okay, the second thing, let me think what it was. Dang, I nearly forgot, because it's been 2 weeks since it was brought up. Lee suggested that you have 2 comment periods, one before and one at the beginning and one at the end. And something tells me that you guys really don't want input from the community, because the people get to say a few words here before any business is discussed. And then after the business is discussed, we'd like to comment on it. If you're doing something goofy, we'd like to let you know. And let's face it, present company possibly accepted, you have done some goofy things over the years. And there have been people come up here and try to tell you you're doing something goofy, and you went ahead and did goofy things anyway. So my suggestion is have another comment period at the end of the meeting so that the people who are interested enough to get up off their couches and come down here and give you some feedback. It might save you millions of dollars. I make a lot of meetings. I go to the charter review. I go to the county commission. I go to the port commission. All of them have a before and after comment period. And the only reason that you cannot be offering it to the people here in Port Angeles who pay for all these nice facilities is because you don't really want their feedback. And I'm going to urge you, let them have at least 2 opportunities to save you some of this stuff that you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah. That's all we've signed up to see for public comments. Anyone else would like to speak to the council? Not seeing any, we'll close the public comment period. Council, we're going to move the report on the Paradise Fire to the front of the agenda, so I'd like to ask Superintendent Beach to come forward and do the introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, and thank you for the invitation to come and present a briefing on the Paradise Fire that's currently occurring within Olympic National Park this evening. I have with me a wonderful team of professionals who are assisting the park in containing the fire. We have a NEMO team, which is a National Incident Management Organization. It's a short incident management team, and it's headed up by Incident Commander Bill Hannenberg. And I also have with me this evening Chris Erickson, who is the Public Information Officer, who's been doing a wonderful job pushing out information to the community. And then for a little bit of on-the-ground information about what's happening at the Paradise Fire, we'll hear a few remarks from Todd Rankin, who's our acting fire management officer at the park. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Incident Commander.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Todd called me 2.5 weeks ago and asked if I'd like to come to Paradise. And of course I said yes, so we're here. And it's that's what we do. We're an incident management team. In my case, or our case, we do this full-time, and we are available to units like the Park Service in this case, where they have a complex fire, to come and assist. And I work for Sarah, work directly with Todd in the management of this fire. There are incident management teams that respond to fires across the agencies in the West, primarily, particularly this time of year, made up of a variety of agency personnel, fire department personnel. We've formulated into these teams, and our specialty is wildland fire, although we respond to incidents, other sorts of incidents as well. So my team is here. We've built the organization to right around 100 people in management of this fire. There's around 20 some on the ground, another 20 or so at our hell base, supporting those firefighters. And then several of us have been engaged in developing a long-term plan for management of this fire, since we expect it to be here all summer long. So that's how we're organized. We're working out of the high school. You'll see us coming and going, and you may notice higher incidents of fire traffic at work. So appreciate the opportunity to come here and work in this community. We've thoroughly enjoyed our stay. We've been here a couple weeks now, and this is a very nice community to have, so appreciate being here.
Okay, good evening. I'm Todd Rankin, and I've been with the National Park Service Fire Management for 21 years. I've been here at Olympic as the Assistant Fire Management Officer for 13, and I've been Acting Fire Management Officer since January. So tonight we're going to talk about the Paradise Fire, and hopefully I'm not blocking anybody. And to start off, I wanted to back up a little bit and kind of cover some of the conditions which led us into the situation we're in now. And as many of you know, that we had a very warm winter up here. It indicates that we had actually a record warmest winter. And that led, we actually had about normal or even a little bit above normal precipitation, but it all felt as rain. I think the maximum snowpack we had was about 14%, and then by the end of April, we were pretty much down to nothing, 4%. And that led us into May with virtually no snowpack. And that's about 4 months ahead of normal in terms of losing our snowpack. So we knew we were heading into a pretty significant summer season, and then we got into May and June, and those 2 months turned out to be not only the warmest in the last 120 years of records, but it was also the driest. And May and June are kind of critical months in terms of indicating what kind of fire season we're going to have. And so once we were getting through May, and then started into June, we knew that we were heading into a pretty serious situation, not only here on the peninsula, but really region-wide, and even throughout the western United States. You'll see here, I have indicated where there's been years of low precipitation during the spring, and some of the large fire events that have happened in the past. Here's the Forks Fire, the Queets Fire 1961, the Hoe Fire 1978, Deer Park, I believe it was 89, the Grid Fire 2003, Heat Wave 2009, and then also we had in 2011 and 2012 large fires here on the peninsula as well. But you can see we are at all-time precipitation lows. And this was actually done 2 weeks ago, and we haven't had any precipitation since. So very dry conditions. And then third week of May, we had a series of lightning storms come through, and down about a little over 300 lightning strikes in the park. We did get some precipitation with that. It was fairly cool. We didn't detect any starts from that. And then on the evening of June 14th, I got a couple calls that there was a smoke report. It was about 9:30 And so then the next day, we ended up getting a recon, and this is what we found. Basically, this is deep within the Queets River drainage, about 12 miles from the trailhead as the crow flies, but if you're wandering around there, it's anywhere from 15 to 18, depending on what route you take. So very remote area, very rugged. This is an area of old growth that hadn't seen fire for over 500 years. So a lot of very large trees, very heavy fuels. One thing that was very interesting about this is that this fire, we're guessing it made about a 2-mile run on the evening of June 14th. And that was attributed to a thermal trough that was in place. That's a weather pattern that creates very dry, unstable weather conditions, along with the up valley winds that generally occur late in the day. And so when we found this fire, it was actually kind of unbelievable. We had never seen something go from undetected to over 300 acres. In Western Washington, a 50-acre fire is considered large. And it's very problematic because of how heavy our fuels are. So what we did, we got some folks in there on the ground as soon as we could because it was very remote. There was a little bit of a delay getting in there. And while the park has a fire management plan that allows us to be able to manage fire within the wilderness as a natural process, we made the decision to try to suppress this. And it was because how early in the season it was, the high potential for this to spread, and also that we actually could. The fire was down in these flats. So there was an opportunity to try to get some resources in there. And obviously we did have a lot of safety concerns. In an area like this, there's a lot of hazards. And so we made a very cautious approach to it. But we ended up putting in 2 loads of smoke jumpers. We brought in a 10-person fire module. We supported them with a couple helicopters. And even though we weren't able to take traditional fire suppression tactics just because of the fuel type, they were able to make some headway in that area. But some of the things that hampered them, and just before I get about this is actually the lightning tree, or suspected lightning tree. It had indications of that, and then needle freeze around it indicated that this was probably the origin of the fire. So just for your information here. So some of the things hampering the fire suppression efforts, very, very large trees, a lot of heavy surface and ground fuels burning through root systems. This is a Plasky, and that handle is about 3 feet long. So that kind of gives you a perspective of what they're working on there. Very, very heavy ground fuel. This firefighter is standing on a nurse log that's probably 6 to 7 feet diameter. And then, but really the difficulty was that the fire really wasn't spreading in the surface fuels. It was spreading in the aerial fuel. It was the moss component in the canopies in that area. And under very dry, unstable conditions, it will transfer right up in those canopies and just move right through there. And then it drops down and we have kind of a patchy burn in the understory. So the crews were able to go through and work the surface fuels, but they were not able to get up and do anything in the canopies. And the approach we took, we wanted to secure the west side and then try to what we call anchor and flank and come around. But the fire had already established up on some of the slopes, and there were a lot of snags that were burning, and safety concerns did not let them get into a few of those areas. And unfortunately, on the night of June 19th, the fire was able to get up into the canopy and just basically cross the cold fire edge where the smoke jumpers who had been working down through here, they basically just watched it march across the canopies and establish up onto these very, very steep southwest slopes here. And once it established up in there, we knew that basically we lost our opportunity, to engage ground personnel safely in there. And at that point, Bill's team was called in. We also had a long-term assessment team that was called in, and they have long-term fire analysts and folks who really study and can model fire behavior in terms of what we can be looking at through the season, because at this point, we knew it was going to be a long-duration fire. We did decide on a strategy, a confinement strategy, and we wanted to keep the fire north of the Queets River, so on this side of the Queets River, and then we also want to minimize spread to the west, because the park boundary is about 4 miles to the west there. And so far, those objectives have been successful. We did have a few spots across the river on Saturday, but the crews were able to pick those up where they could safely work down here. And then here's another shot of I believe this was on the 22nd, when the fire was making the runs up those steep slopes. And it just kind of shows you how steep of an area we're dealing with and the heavy fuels in there. This is a infrared map that was taken last night. We've been having it flown, and this is how we get our updates on the growth. Currently, I believe it's 1,568 acres is mapped, and all these little red dots indicate isolated heat, and then the yellow areas are scattered heat, and then the red is intense heat. So we have a portion of fairly intense heat over here on the west side, a few areas up along the north, and then over here, a couple nights ago, it took this area out, and then some heat down over here. So the pattern of fire spread has just been, on a big day, it's usually 100 up to 150 acres. But generally, we're seeing, days where even 10 or 20 acres will burn. We're definitely getting into a lull right now with the onshore flow and the cooling trend. And then I did bring a progression map that I can leave, and you can look at that. Kind of shows how the fire moves across the landscape. With Bill's team in, they have developed a long-term plan, which helps kind of guide our operations through the next potentially 3 to 4 months. And it identifies the level of organization that we need depending on the operational complexity of the incident. And we're going to transition into a different team probably early next week. And so in terms of the long-term impacts of this fire on the peninsula and the community, there will be times where people will see smoke. Like thermal troughs, we have critical fire weather patterns that come into play. The fire will get up and it will start moving around. It will become visible, and then it will lay down under the onshore flow. And it could stay just pretty inactive and moving around for weeks, even months, and then get up and start moving around again. As we've seen in years past, in 2003, in 2009, 10, 11, 12, when we've had large fires here on the peninsula. So, but we do have Chris and a lot of PIOs in place doing, I think, a great job getting the fire information out. There's other factors in play also in terms of the big picture, as you all know, on Sunday, when we had all this smoke coming in from Canada. And a lot of folks assumed it was the Paradise Fire, but it was very clearly the Canadian smoke. And we did it, I thought Chris and the VIOs did a great job in trying to get that information out. So as we move further into the season, the outlooks are not good. This is a 1-month outlook showing higher probability for above average or above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation. And all the indicators point towards drought continuing. So, but I am hearing on the forecast maybe a chance of some showers this weekend. So it's low confidence right now, but any precipitation is better than no precipitation. So with that, are there any questions?
I rarely personalize my questions, so this is both kind of a personal question and a more general question. As a Bronco asthmatic, I find it troubling that the things of fire will linger for 34 months. I recognize it as a single entity and may not be of substantial nature, even for a Bronco asthmatic, but as it contributes to other fires that are or may yet be started. It's still concerning about the duration that this may have. Are there ever any plans within the policies and procedure manual that the Park Service can really get after?
Well, as I stated, during that first week, we did get after it. We did everything we could to check the fire spread. It's in an area that we're just not able to contain it to the flats. And what we've done in terms of air quality is we've set up air quality monitors in Forks and down in Quinault, and then there's a series of permanent air monitoring stations here in Port Angeles, out on the by Nia Bay, and then of course down the east side. And so, I'm in communication with the air quality experts, but in terms of our ability to suppress the fire, or have suppressed it, we did everything we could. Right now, it is in an area that is, I'll say it's virtually impossible to get up into that terrain and that fuel type and do anything effective and safe.
Even
Airdrops, they're considered fire slowing tactics. Yeah, and we measure the duff out there in that area by feet, 2-3 feet deep. Those large logs, an airdrop, pouring water on it. We were using helicopters and putting buckets of water on it, but the old growth is so thick that the water wasn't even penetrating the canopies. So it's just a very difficult area, and an area that hasn't burned in 500 years. Once it starts to burn, it kind of wants to burn.
Well, having said what I said, I deeply appreciate your efforts, and I wouldn't ever want somebody's life to be put at risk for the fact I couldn't take them together. And I really appreciate what you do. It's just, and I probably speak for you many people. But thank you for what you do.
Other questions from the council? Thank you, we appreciate your presentation this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, are there any late items for this agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I would appreciate if we can have an update on our current water usage and availability, and I would request that would be L7 from Mr. Bolton.
Okay.
Staff has no late items.
All right. Consent agendas, would anybody like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, number 3, please. Building Committee Action Program.
Pull number 3. Anything else? If not, let me read the consent agenda. City Council minutes of June 2nd, 2015 and June 16th, 2015. Expenditure approval list for June 6, 2015 to June 26, 2015 in the amount of $5,221,174.10. And vehicle purchase, 2 used police sedans from the University of Washington Police.
Motion to approve is read.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Olympic Community Action Programs. No extension agreement.
Yes, I guess when I read this, I appreciate that they are in need of more time, but in lieu of the fact that they anticipated to have repayment done by 2015, and then they had an additional request of $30,000, and now they're asking for the loan again to be extended through April 2025. I must admit, that left me with very little confidence that this was really going to happen, and it just didn't seem like a very prudent thing to do. So I do realize that they are now going to be paying 3% interest through 2025, but I guess I would like to understand how they got into the place that they are at today and not being able to pay this off when they said they were going to pay it off.
Council, I'd be happy to try to answer those questions. I think certainly if we realized that this was an item for discussion, we could have had the applicant here and prepared to speak on their issues of concern. I will say that it's probably important to grant program. It is important that we keep an obligated balance in that program. So when something comes up as an opportunity for low-income individuals, we will typically ensure that that funding gets back out. And so whether they paid it off or not, it's very likely we would have loaned that money back out in support of their low-income efforts. In this case, they have asked for a specific extension. Again, it's certainly council's prerogative to determine whether that extension is acceptable or not under the current terms. It certainly is an improvement to some of the loan repayments that we see from this particular housing rehabilitation fund. But I will say it could be beneficial to the fund to receive a series of payments over time, ensuring that there's a consistent payment made to that funding source that then can revolve out and help other low-income individuals.
So what was the reasoning that they gave for having this extension and not paying this stuff? I mean, like I said, this was originally due by 2015, is that correct?
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have that information in front of me this evening, but certainly I could have that at the next meeting if you'd like to delay.
Yeah, and I do apologize for not giving you a heads up on this. It's just when I read this, I had to sit with it to figure out, am I just being unreasonable, or is this? I'd like to, I guess, I would like to wait on getting that information before dealing with this.
My understanding is that their rehab program has been suspended. Is that correct? They're not actively doing that. So, and they're the only rehab program we have in town at this point?
There are some other exceptions, but for the most part, they were the only one that provided that direct low-income support for housing rehabilitation.
So it's my understanding that giving them additional time will maybe help to keep the program for the future, which I think is an important thing.
And I guess, so correct me if I'm wrong then, but so they are into rehabilitation and construction, but this was associated with the Oral Health Center. So was the cost not coming out of the Oral Health Center, or how was that expected to work?
So this was a loan that was provided in conjunction with the Oral Health Center, absolutely. So it was for a capital improvement that was committed some time ago. I believe the history is noted in the staff report. It initiated in 2005. And there was an extension provided to that loan agreement in 2011.
Well, like I said, I will not feel comfortable in voting on this one way or another until we get a little more information, because I don't, if this has already been extended once, I would like to, I guess, have more assurances that it's not going to get extended again and again, and then at the end we end up forgiving it or without knowing more. So.
Nathan, is it correct that this is basically an unsecured loan? It was a grant, it's not, the loan and the repayment isn't secured by anything substantial like a piece of real estate, is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
So I guess regardless of how they got to this position, which seems to be very unfortunate, very unfortunate financial condition. I'm not sure what our other choices would be if we didn't accept an extension and an agreement for them to begin paying interest payments. If they don't have the money, they don't have the money. And I don't think we would want to consider just waiving the loan and saying, okay, you're off on your own. I think it would be probably more prudent to at least try to get them on a regular payment plan where we at least start making some interest. So I guess I'm speaking in favor of the proposal.
Mr. West, is it absolutely critical that we approve this evening, or could this be put on the next agenda where we could have a representative of OLECAP here so we could discuss it in a little more?
I will say if it's important for City Council to hear from an OLECAP representative, I would certainly encourage you to wait to the next meeting. I will say that OLECAP has been very patient with staff's response on this item, and I can tell you that they submitted this request quite some time ago, and so they've been very patient with us forwarding this approach to council. As Councilmember Gase noted, I think it is important that we do have a number of other loans out there, and I can tell you that it is something that we frequently do, that we work with those applicants to try to find ways to arrange repayment. And I think that would be a consistent practice, and I can tell you we've extended other loan agreements in the past where City Council has. So I think it's just important to note that this is a very unique fund for the City of Port Angeles that's intended to be out there to serve low-income needs.
Well, I agree with Councilmember Gase. I think in order to sort of fully understand it, I would move that we table this to the next City Council meeting.
I would second that motion.
Okay, move to second the table to the next City Council meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we are down to the options for public comment periods.
Okay, Mayor and Council, as you're aware, a while back we had a couple citizens that came forward requesting that the council consider 2 public comment periods during their regular council meetings. During the last council meeting, council did direct staff to outline options pertaining to public comment periods during a council meeting. Staff did provide to council 5 options ranging from no change to scheduling an additional public comment period at the end of each meeting. I do want to state that while we provided 5 options, we also recognize that you may come up with an option on your own or modify one of the existing options. The only recommendation that staff does have, that if council does choose to move forward with a second public comment period, that we do recommend that you establish some guidelines pertaining to that, some reasonable guidelines pertaining to that second public comment period, and a couple of those were outlined in the memo also. We did take the opportunity to deal with a couple of housekeeping items related to the council rules of procedure also. One of them is deleting on the agenda the quasi-judicial matters. Now that we do have a hearings examiner, that agenda item is no longer applicable. And the other one, it has to do more with a practice versus what's stated in the rules of procedure. Right now in the rules of procedure is stated that each individual will have up to 5 minutes, but no more than 15 minutes during the public comment period. A while back, the council elected to go to 3 minutes to allow more of the public to talk during that 15 minutes. And so the other item thrown out there to consider to actually formalize that change would be a housekeeping change to the rules of procedure to follow current practice. With that, I throw that out for council discussion.
2 weeks ago, I brought this up on behalf of the citizens I too have struggled with what's being discussed that evening and not being able to address it in the past. So I totally support, again, the opportunity for our residents to comment on present undertakings of council actions. I do support this with the 3-minute intervals for the chance of additional people talking about possibly what may come up. All of my life, I guess, I've had a problem with not being invited, and the fact is I like to invite people to come up and speak, but if you choose not to, I make the invitation. So I think this is the right direction for council to go. As was pointed out earlier this evening, there are other agencies that allow this, but I really believe that this is a direct approach for the council to be more reactive to what we're talking about that evening, and to hear from the folks that make up the audience. And kudos to every one of you here that choose to attend our council meetings. Thank you.
I would like to favorably comment on this, and Councilmember Whittle, when you brought up the last meeting, I did favor it, but I think it was appropriate that we brought it forward so it could be put in on the agenda and so people could see it and we could all discuss it. And I actually was in a position when I was sitting in your chair during my previous term on council, and I had a council member next to me who suggested we eliminate public comment because we're going to do the work of the people, and I had to fight for keeping our public comment period. I believe that transparency is critical, and I'm so proud of this council and staff for having excellent transparency and improving transparency all the time. I also serve as this council member Collins, and also other council members have served on the pool commission, and there are two public comment periods, one at the beginning that pertain to the agenda, and then one later on. So this is done at other commission and council meetings, and I think it's an excellent effort. This is the house of the people. We are here to serve the people, and we want your input and look forward to hearing from you. So I would certainly favor this evening. Thank you.
I too would favor this, and I know that they give us 5 options. And number 3 says to schedule a second public comment period at regular meetings before council reports, because I think that would be the appropriate place to put this. There was also 2 guidelines. One was to maintain the 3 minutes limits per citizen, and a 15-minute total consistent with the first comment period, which I think would be fine. And I would hope that we have a little flexibility in case there was more comments to be had. But I'm not quite sure I agree with the second one that says comments should be on a new topic, not revisit comments made at the beginning of the meeting. Because sometimes you can get the nuance of a topic, and it may be the same topic, but with a slight difference to it. So I would not quite limit that the topic has to be a new topic necessarily. But I would absolutely support this.
Oh, I too support us taking action, providing a second opportunity for those that want to take it. The period of 3 minutes seems to be fair. I know there's been too many instances where heretofore we've had people abuse that time limit. I think people would be pretty considerate of others, so I'm comfortable with that time. As to when it should be, I guess I've heard 2 different views this evening. One is recommendation 3 or recommendation 4. I think probably from my perspective that having it at the end of the prior to adjournment, in other words, at the end of our meeting, makes more sense to me. Yes, I'm in favor of it. Assuming it's fair and appropriate. me more than anything else is that while we take this opportunity tonight to make an interest threshold decision, and it is in favor of a second period, and I fully endorse that. But it troubles me, and I don't think this addresses it really, is that we just don't get enough comments back. I've been, how many budget, I've been at this is my 6th year in council. And I think if I add up all the people in those 6 years who've been to a budget hearing, representing millions of dollars, hard dollars, I would be hard pressed to fill this room. It's discouraging in that regard. But having said that, I can endorse this happy world. We'll be tonight to give a bigger voice.
First, I'd like to say thank you for bringing this up last meeting, and also thank you for postponing the decision for 2 weeks so that we have a chance to not just make a knee-jerk reaction decision, which typically will lead to problems and unforeseen circumstances. I think this is a great presentation. It gives us a lot of good meat to bite on. I'm also completely in favor. I'm leaning towards the item number 3 that many of you spoke on. I think it makes sense. I would like us to continue what I've noticed happening for the last couple of years. And that's back when, Sherry, when you were the mayor, I was always impressed at how outgoing you were to encourage public testimony and communication, and some of the things you did prior to my coming on with regards to opening up communication and transparency with the websites and things like that. And what Dan has done as mayor, I think it's been outstanding that he's kind of set aside the 5-minute, 15-minute rule and always encouraged people to continue talking and didn't close it until everyone was done giving comment. And I think that's really commendable. And this is another logical step towards more openness and lack of, or more opening up the transparency factor. So I think at the end of the meeting, I would hope people are still here. Most of the time, when we look up at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, there's like one person, Vicki, sitting up there, and Dr. Kalin and a couple of you ladies, and so it's a very, very small crowd then, but if you're still here, by golly, and you want to talk to us, I think you deserve an opportunity to do that.
I do favor schedule number 3, the second public comment period right before council reports. My idea on this is we would be consistent with the public that throughout any meeting they choose to attend, they're going to get a second comment, no matter how our agenda is put together by staff. I do, though, agree with Councilmember Brooke. I will not support the additional guideline that comments should be on a new topic, not a revisit of comments made at the beginning of the meeting. This is the people's house, as was pointed out, and I do believe in free speech. If we simply limit them to 3 minutes, if someone chooses to sing us the latest revived song that they've recently discovered, that's their prerogative, and then I don't want to be in their way. I want to support them coming forward and sharing their concerns with us as a city council.
Well, I don't think there's anyone here who's not supporting the idea that we'd have a second comment period. So, and I think that if we put it at the report, council report, people have to stay here until the end of the time. But I would like to say that I support the 2 guidelines. I would change the second one to simply read, in order to respect the fact that there's a limited time, that everyone gets a chance to speak, that we don't, the comments should not be a repeat of the comments made at the beginning of the meeting. There's no sense in having to say the same comment a second time. And so that would give time for anyone else that had a new comment. So if that was more acceptable to council members Brooke and Whittam, I think that it should be, the comments should not be a repeat of the comments made at the beginning of the meeting.
I guess thinking on that, it may, a comment may seem like a brief but with nuances to it, so I wouldn't want to limit that. And if they do end up repeating, at that point, I would say you can start enforcing the 3-minute rule. But I would hope that folks wouldn't use that. So I would just stick with the first one, the 3-minute time limit.
Mr. Mayor, if council chooses to adopt this policy, we're granting the people 15 more minutes. And again, it's all about free speech. So the people will choose how to use their 3 minutes. I just believe in their right to address us again on any topic that they choose.
I would concur with that. I mean, it's not our right to choose to tell you what you have to say, limited in that regard. That would be inconsistent with what we're trying to do in the first place. As to my comments about waiting to the end of the meeting, I can understand that. And every once in a while, during the information period, we have something of great value comes forth from our staff. It may be that something they've added to the agenda in the course of, in this case, section L, information. There are a number of things on that portion of our agenda tonight is of some significance. Not the least of which, in our case, was the Civic Field lighting project, which I know, Corey, I can't wait to provide that to you. So I still remain a little bit hesitant to not wait to the end. On the other hand, I can appreciate Dan's comment about not very many people are still around at that time of the meeting. So I guess I'm a little bit ambivalent about that part of it.
The agenda, as laid out, typically, when we get past council reports, we do get the information. But it's my belief that over half of the information that's provided during this agenda actually is referred to by the city manager as there's written reports, if you'd like to care to read them. They're in your agenda. We actually don't verbally discuss these things. So council reports they occur every time that we have our meetings. And if we do the second public comment period right before the council reports, again, that is consistent with the agenda. That will never change.
But Lee, not for purposes of discussion only, we may not necessarily discuss it, those comments that come out of that section of the agenda, but the fact remains there may be somebody in the audience who it does ring a bell and that they would like to comment on it. So to deny them that chance, from a logistical point of view, doesn't quite make sense to me.
But again, Pat, if we don't talk about it or in an open council session, then the folks out there are not really going to have the chance for input and to hear, again, out of information that's generally given to us in a written form.
But how about, guys, if we move the information in front of the council reports and then have a comment period that way? If it's just, hey, it's paper, folks know that. And then if it isn't paper, like, the civic lights or whatever, then that way they get all that information ahead of time and they get a chance to comment. And then we have our council reports.
Cissy, my comments are really directed to the concept in my little brain that says it's all about them.
Right.
I mean, we are doing this not for us to have more of a discussion, but it is in fact to provide that second opportunity for them to discuss something that happened on this agenda they'd like us to know about. So that's the reason I do that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, what I would hope for is that we can use a little discretion on this, but I agree with a lot of the comments where I don't want to put restrictions and tie people's hands. I don't want to make the people feel like they might be breaking the rules if they say something wrong or, as long as there's no personal attacks and profanity, I'm happy with whatever they have to say. And frankly, I like the connotation of letting the public have the last say. If we do all our stuff, give our comments and our reports, and really our reports don't take very long. I mean, we're talking a minute or two, so it's not like we're delaying the public and keeping them up too much longer, you know, except for sometimes the deputy mayor goes on pretty long. But no, overall though, it's pretty concise and it's not like we're dragging them out. But then have the public come up, let them have the last word. Thank you very much, good night, and we're moving on. So I'd be in favor of item number 3, take out that second item about comments should be on a new topic, remove that, and move it to the very end as the last item.
Is that a motion, sir?
Actually, is it item number 4 you're talking about?
The second vote meeting, the regular meeting directly before adjournment.
You'll note that the numbers are different between the resolution and the staff memo. So you might want to reference the page that you're referencing so that if you're referring to a specific number, that it's the correct number.
I would turn to page H7 and work off the caption A. Might be the easiest way to do that. And that would be what would be included in the resolution. And if you wish, you can adopt the resolution tonight.
I thought we didn't have to adopt the resolution if we picked 2 or 3 or 4.
I want to make some comments here too. I support the option 3, which is the council reports. I do have some concerns about, as Councilmember Case commented, when people come to the microphone, I try to keep the speaker on topic, as long as they are, usually let them talk. Sometimes beyond 3 minutes, and I can't remember the last time I actually calculated 15 minutes total. Because I want everybody to have an opportunity. I think this evening was probably the first time in a long time because we only had 3 speakers. But it's always been my feeling that we should let everybody have a say. That's why even though you haven't signed up, I give you an opportunity to speak to the council in the meeting. I think an opportunity to speak at the back end of the meeting, either on something that we dealt with in the course of the meeting, that they have, I feel very strongly there should be opportunities to do that. I'm a little concerned that we keep talking about this 15-minute threshold here. I'd like to see that language sort of softened a little bit. That gives discretion to the mayor to extend that 15-minute period when appropriate, so that everybody gets it. We've got opportunities at times. We've got 13, 14, 15 people signing up to speak to us, and if we limit them all to 3 minutes, we're still way beyond 15 minutes. I think sometimes we have public comment that lasts as long as 45 minutes to an hour. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. I give everybody an opportunity to speak to us, to express their concerns. So I'd like to see that language, as I said, softened a little bit to give some discretion for flexibility to the mayor to kind of go with the flow of the number of people who want to speak to us.
That language is already in the rules of procedure at the beginning.
Okay, here you go.
That language, giving discretion to the mayor, is already in the rules of procedure for the public comment period at the beginning. And I think the memo didn't state it in full, but I think the intent was simply to continue that language, shooting for 15 minutes, giving the mayor discretion to expand it. And so if we bring back a resolution for you to actually adopt next time, we can spell that out in full at the next meeting.
I feel comfortable with that, yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion.
The resolution.
And I'd refer this to our packet, page H7, which is entitled Exhibit A. And referring to the 4 choices, I would make a motion that we approve item number 3, add to the agenda a second public comment period at regular meetings directly before adjournment, and include the 3-minute time limit per citizen with the mayor's discretion and flexibility, along with the 15-minute total with the mayor's discretion for flexibility, and eliminate the last sentence that reads comments should be on a new topic, not a revisit, to give that openness. So that would be my motion.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now you're going to have to bring us back a resolution for next council meeting, is that?
No, I think you just passed the resolution.
Just passed it. So this is again,
Just for your information, if you turn to page H, let's see, H4. If you read the section on public comment, the second paragraph down, actually read the whole section. It covers pretty much, by adding what you added, the discretion of the mayors in there. It's very clear that you have the ability to extend time as you see fit.
So I think that the council already adopted the resolution, but in the final printed version of the resolution that the mayor signs, we'll make sure that it conforms with your action tonight.
Okay, good. Let's move on to the Teamster Local 589 Communication Support Unit contract extension.
All right, good evening. Tonight I'm bringing forth the Teamsters Communications and Support Unit contract extension. The terms that were agreed upon between the city and the union were the one-year contract extension from January 2015 through December 2015, including a 2% cost of living increase, and then the contract language remaining the same as it is currently. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the contract and that we move forward with the mayor signing. And just to let you know, we have 6 contracts with the unions, and after the settlement of this contract, 5 of our 6 contracts will have been settled for 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve the terms of the Teamsters Communication and Support Unit collective bargaining agreement extension and cost of living adjustment as stated in the summary.
Second that motion.
Move to second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I had on the leave, I know that we had talked a little bit about how much leave people can accumulate, and as to starting to reduce that and make it so that it's, not a lot of it. And it just seemed to me that we have a maximum of 568 hours of accrued leave that is in this contract for folks who are 21 and over, continuous years for cities. And it just, that seems fair, like a lot. And I know that this is probably right now equal for all the contracts, but I would like us to start, I don't think any of us in the private sector would ever be allowed to have 568 hours of vacation time accrued. I may be wrong, but that was not something that was done. And it's a lot of private practices would also say, hey, you actually really need your time off because you will become a better employee. So I would like for future discussions with the different unions to reduce this, because this actually goes to the health and quality of life of these employees, and I believe that they really need to start taking this time off. So that would be my advice for future contracts, to really get this down, not just so it's not a city liability, but also to really address the health and well-being of these employees.
And as you may remember, we did do that with the management group, so we are moving, that direction with the management group.
Right. So is the management group far off from this number? I don't remember because it's not in front of me, but
no, we capped theirs at 480.
Actually, the management group was, that number was cut in half. That was one of the items that was brought up a couple of years ago. And that was one of the major reductions as we move forward. But that didn't apply to the bargaining groups. When we went through our strategy session, that wasn't one of the items that we looked at. We will be meeting with the council within the next, probably no later than a month and a half, to start talking about negotiation strategies as we move forward. Unfortunately, these are one-year contracts, and I think one of our council members also brought up, and I think we all agree that we would like to see multi-year contracts because they take an enormous amount of time, and it's not just the time, it's the emotional effort that you put into those discussions also. But we will be sitting down talking to council about a strategy as we move forward.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I would just like to see that, at least now that we have one group under that, to get everybody. Like I said, it's more of a welfare, I mean, you know, the wellness of these employees not taking this vacation time, so.
I'd like to thank you, Adam, for another successful negotiation. Also, I'd like to remind council that when we gave staff direction, it was one size fits all during this bargaining session for this year. The biggest fear factor was not knowing what the Supreme Court was going to do with the Affordable Care Act. And now that that's been upheld, I think staff will have a better negotiation position following possibly getting some multi-year contracts from some of the other represented groups in the city. So I do support this contract moving forward. Thank you.
Well, I would just like to thank all the bargaining units for working with the city council on this, and I think that having us resolve this issue for 2015 and previous years is a good thing, and I appreciate that all the bargaining units work in concert, so thanks.
I do too. I think this is an excellent effort on behalf of staff and the units, and I'm very happy to come to this resolution. It's a good result. Thank you, Ed.
Ditto.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Light pole replacement, phase 2.
Council, this is, as noted in your memo, second phase of downtown light pole replacements. The first phase was executed in 2013 on First Street. The second phase will be concentrating on Front. We budgeted $100,000 for pole replacements. This is the pole and the concrete foundations that have eroded over time. The actual light fixture will be reused, these existing luminaires. So we have one bidder, Olympic Electric, who came in under the government estimate, $90,000. So this memo is to have the council approve the award and author the city manager to sign this contract with Olympic Electric of Port Angeles, Washington, amount of $90,852.72 for the second phase of light pole replacements.
I'd make a motion to award and authorize the city manager to sign a contract with Olympic Electric Company Incorporated, Port Angeles, Washington, for a total amount of $90,852.72, including sales tax for the light pole replacement phase 2, project CL06-2012 base bid, and to make minor modifications to the agreement if necessary.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. I have a question of staff. Craig, how come we're not accepting the added bid?
Well, we had a choice to pull additional funding for electric reserves to do that, but the decision was made by staff to just include these as a future. The more critical poles were replaced last year, and then these 10. So the 2 that were on there were not as critical. So we decided to just go with $90,000 and not have to pull money from reserves.
Okay.
I have a question. Andrew, I guess it was a little bothered as well that we only had one bid. And I just wondered, I know that you pulled the contractors from the small works roster. Is there just one guy really who does electric in that small, this type of electric work?
I can't answer that at the moment. I'd have to get back with my staff to see what the answer is. We do go out and hit virtually touch and call the local folks to make sure they're aware of it. And glad that they do participate and keep the money in town. But I don't have an answer as to why additional electrical companies do not bid on this.
Isn't this a small enough dollar amount that it'd be on the small works roster?
That's correct. So it goes out and people have access to that roster.
Right, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Council reports. I'll start with Mr. Collins?
Don't we have another item there? Under information? Okay. Well, one, I wanted to give a fairly lengthy report on our trip to the Association of Washington Cities a week ago, and I thought it was really good. This is my second time in the last 3 years or 4 years going, and there were a number of speakers that I found particularly helpful and engaging, and I passed that information on to the idea that we follow up on some of that stuff instead of just listen to it and then wait till next year. The second thing I wanted to do, so it was, I think, a very successful AWC conference. There was a controversial vote at the end. I was the only remaining voter from Port Angeles, and there was a vote on whether or not to, as a policy position, have AWC suggest to the legislature to the Public Disclosure Act. And it was quite a controversial issue, and I'm reporting that I voted with the majority, which said yes, that we should ask the legislature to include themselves under the Public Disclosure Act. It passed 55% to 45%, and as I say, it was quite an engaging part of that conversation. And then lastly, I wanted to, well, actually not actually, I wanted to note that there is an event this Saturday, the first salmon homecoming ceremony at the Railroad Bridge in Sequim, and I was planning to attend. I didn't know if other council members were planning to attend or not, but I thought it was a great thing to go to. So if you are, you should coordinate with Carrie in case we need to do a special meeting notice. The last thing I want to do is thank Council Member Kidd for going and representing us at Canada Day on July 1st over in Victoria. Thank you very much for that.
We had fun, eh?
Just that I will be going to attend that ceremony, so I know that I've gotten a yes on that one. Also, I had sent up 2 articles to some of the staff as to the water drought. NASA's report came out, and we are going to get drier and hotter for the next, it looks like if we don't do something about our emissions, it is, the likelihood goes from, I think, 60% to 80% that we are definitely going to be in a long-term drought. So these conditions are going to be the new normal as to the drought. One, if we continue with the current emissions as we currently have them. So one of the things I would like is for maybe council to start looking and thinking how we as a city can reduce our emissions to try to see if we can keep us off this drought that's coming. And I don't know if we actually can at this point in life. I mean, from the in the reduced emissions, the drought wasn't so bad, but it was there. So again, I think this is a long-term plan that we need to look at. This is NASA's data that the report came out in February, and it was just coming out in the news now. So I've sent articles, I've sent to staff to take a look at that, and I would hope that we can get, I think we need some long-term planning around that. I think it's coming.
So July, first week of July is the festive week. July 1st is Canada Day, and I think this is my 4th year I've taken a contingent of people, and they let me know, not just Port Angeles, but from the Olympic Peninsula. We had people from all over the peninsula that went. And we were warmly welcomed by the Canadian councillors and the people in Canada Day. They just love to welcome us over there. And it's a wonderful celebration on in their downtown and on the legislative lawn. And it's great for our relationship with Victoria to show up and show interest in their project. So Charlene Thornton-Joe was our host again this year, and she did an excellent job. They had 4,000 or 5,000 people in the maple leaf flags of that one all over Canada. That was fun. So, and then July 4th, Port Angeles put on a parade that was just fabulous. The weather was perfect. wonderful parade with our entire, seems like half the town came out for the parade, and it was a patriotic day, happy day in Port Angeles, and just proud to be a citizen of Port Angeles, so thank you.
I will try to keep this report short. And that's in deference to conversation. In all seriousness, I was very pleased to work with George Berger, who was part of our meeting earlier this evening, and some others from the bicycle friendly community group welcoming the other side of the coin. Shirley has done so extremely well over the years, and I've had the pleasure of being with you on that on a couple of occasions. But we in fact had 127 bicyclists from Victoria, Greater Victoria, who were again on their Canada Day to ride to the top of Hurricane Ridge. And not only did they do it once, some did it twice. And a number of them, for good measure, threw in a trip to swim before they caught the ferry. And so it was a pleasure again for us to welcome them. We provided a bike corral for them, for those who wanted to visit around the town and have a bike eat or whatever. We provided a safe, secure place for them to store their bikes for a couple of hours as they chose. Recognizing some of these bikes that these riders are in price range from $5,000 up to some cases $15,000. So quite remarkable. Also had a chance with others here, Brad, myself, Dan, and the other Dan, to attend the AWC conference in Wenatchee. It's a wonderful experience. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And that's it.
Just let everyone know I had a great time at Farmers Market. A lot of people were out with our great weather we've had lately. I just want to take this opportunity to say congratulations, we the people, on the adoption of the second comment period. Way to go, guys.
A couple items. First, I'm impressed with Councilmember Kidd having reported now from 2 foreign countries in the last couple months. So,
True.
Good travels. One of the best forms of flattery and a compliment to somebody is the opportunity to be able to jest and joke with them. And after 12 hours of riding with Councilmember Downey over to Wenatchee and back, we've had a chance to continue to grow our friendship, and that's why I felt so comfortable giving you a jab today. I want everybody to know that was total tongue-in-cheek and nothing derogatory whatsoever.
But well, I had to spend 12 hours with him.
So, I almost ran out of jokes. So, at the AWC conference, one of the things I've been following the last couple of years is the whole topic of marijuana, legalizing marijuana in the state. And I went to one of the update workshops, and I was actually very surprised when they gave some of the numbers. In Washington State, the gross sales, retail sales for the state for legalized recreational marijuana was $1.36 million every day of the year. And the taxes that the state was expecting to get, they had budgeted about $35 million in tax revenue, and they said that they were real close to breaking $60 million and expected to, so nearly double what they were projecting. The problem is they're still not planning to give any of it back to us. So there's a lot of discussion and work with the AWC members, trying to lobby with the legislator to try to get a realistic share of that back to help offset some of the expenses that we have as cities. And that's going to be an uphill battle, but they're working at that. So that is all for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I just like to finish by saying thank you for the citizens for showing some restraint this last 4th of July weekend. prior to the 4th of July, there were very few fireworks going off. In past years, it's been days and days before the 4th of July. So I talked to the fire chief prior to the meeting. He said during the 4th there were some minimal fires that we dealt with that were no more than normal, he said. But he also recognized the fact that the citizens did not use a lot of fireworks prior to the 4th. So again, I say thank you, and I hope as we move into the ban next year that again the citizens respect the new regulations that we will be implementing. And as I mentioned when we first started that conversation, my dog slept all the way through it this year, so I was very happy about that. So that's the end of my report. I was at the farmers market with Lee as well, and we had a nice conversation with Dr. Kalen, and she was very bright with her purple and yellow, and really made it a spring shiny day. Thank you, Dr. Kalen. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's go to the city manager's report, information.
I do have a few items, just follow up on the action items. We will get to you within a few days, so we'll get off the council rules and procedures. Each of you have the new version. Also, at the next meeting, we'll try to ensure that we get an OLECAP representative here to discuss the loan extension request that they put forward. One item to mark on your calendars, and we'll get it out in an email. July 28th, we do have a work session we'll be scheduling. It's to start our 2016 budget process, and one of the main items we'll be going over is our long-range financial forecast, updating that. And we're starting the budget season, and we're going to start getting into it pretty heavy.
What time, sir?
5 o'clock, 5 to 7. And a couple items that are under information. We do have an update on the apprenticeship program, and if you have any questions of staff, just get a hold of staff. They'll be able to answer those. We do have a couple items that we want to give a very short report on tonight. One is the downtown construction and business support. Nathan wanted to talk just a couple minutes about that, and then followed up by Corey, who just wanted to give a quick update on Civic Field lighting project. So Nathan?
So council, just Craig and I put together the memo that you see on page L3 of your agenda this evening. And one of the things that the memo strives to do is provide some background as far as some of the work that's been done to reach out to downtown businesses to try to make them aware of the construction ongoing. And I think Craig's staff has done a good job of contacting those businesses ahead of time, making them aware of what's going to be taking place, as well as communications to revitalize Port Angeles and the media about those occurrences. Simultaneously, we've provided a list of things that we feel we can do, predominantly from a marketing perspective and additional outreach perspective. And I just wanted to make sure council had the opportunity to provide additional input or feedback as to those things that council may feel staff ought to be doing to better support downtown businesses during this challenging time.
If I can add quickly, next Wednesday, bike downtown, shop downtown, next Wednesday evening.
So when you're saying next Wednesday, like tomorrow Wednesday or the
No,
following?
next week Wednesday. We'll head off at 5:30, meet at 5:15, be there a little early because of parking from Houston to Pier, but bring kids, tricycles, $15,000 bicycles or $50 bicycles.
And this is Nathan, to your comments as to what businesses do, and the fact that you've outreached to all these is wonderful. I'm also wondering whether you can encourage them if they have more comments to just come and talk to us as well. But I think you guys are doing a great job.
We'll certainly continue to do that, absolutely. I do think it's important that we'd like to support all the businesses in town. And simultaneously, I think the best thing that we can all do is participate in supporting those businesses whenever we have an opportunity, and each and every one of us going down and shopping and taking part in the restaurants and different things that our businesses currently offer us.
Mayor and Council, I'm happy to report that an additional $38 million was added to the recent state recreational budget, which funded our 2015 local parks grant for the Civic Field lights, as you might have read the other day. Thank you very much. I want to thank the council, and I also want to thank the council subcommittee that was formed last year. That was a huge support. We looked at a lot of different avenues, but at the end, we came through on great. Thank you.
So as of today, the river was flowing at about 340 cubic feet per second. That's about 2 months ahead of where it normally is flowing at that level. We'll probably be looking at reviewing stage 3 water conservation at 300 CFS. Again, when I say stage 3, we're having no issues with the rainy well, and I expect not to have any issues with the rainy well to provide all the water required for residential, commercial consumption. We are looking at the trend lines now. We expect the LWA to go down to about somewhere between 150 cubic feet per second to 180 cubic feet per second at a low point sometime in September. When I gave the last discussion, we were looking at the low point we had in the past was 192 cubic feet per second, which put our consumption at about 2% of river flow. So 150 to 180 cubic feet per second, we're looking at about 3% of the river flow. But again, at that level, there are going to be fish impacts. One other thing I mentioned that this is a fantastic time to gather data for future planning, and we're doing that right now. And it's really interesting to see that the flow changes on a daily basis between night and day, and it looks like it changes by about 10 cubic feet per second. And I'm assuming, I haven't talked to anybody, but assuming during the day it's evaporating, so the river flow drops by about 10 cubic feet per second, and then you have this spike in the evening. So evaporation is taking about 10 cubic feet per second during the day, and we are consuming about 3 to 5 cubic feet per second. So you see, evaporation is actually taking twice as much, but it comes back at night as the river basin pumps back into the river flow. So it's a great time for gathering data, and we're looking at our future water plans, and we actually had a consultant and a hydrologist to review other options for water sources for the city rather than just solely relying on the Elwha River and the rainy well or the intake structure, and we'll be reviewing that in the near future to see if there's other sources, deep water sources that can be utilized. One, it gives us an alternative source of water from the Elwha, and two, it would relieve some of the water pressures from the fish. So it has two benefits. On top of that, there are a lot of grants out there for drought relief, and a lot of grants out there for mitigation of fish. So we're looking to combine those two issues and seeking funding for making our water system more robust going into the future, and following up on what Sissy is talking about.
Okay, any questions? Okay, if not, based on the council's action tonight, I will invite public comment. Anybody wants to speak on the item from the areas? Why am I not surprised?
I couldn't pass up the chance to be the first. Lee, I want to thank you, the entire council, I want to thank you. You're listening, and it's marvelous, and I appreciate it. I know everybody appreciates it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Name and address, please.
Stephanie Noble, 3rd Avenue, Port Angeles. Thank you for letting me film, as my YouTube vlog, as they're called today, is Clown Public Eye. So you can see everything that we've done here over the last 2 months on that vlog. But I also wanted to let you know that the parade was online too, because I went to the parade, shot some video of the activities before it, and then when I was riding the parade, got the people, all the people. So that was pretty cool. So just want to let you know. Thanks for your support.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing any. If there's no other business, thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.
Mayor and Council, we do have the need for a short executive session.
Affiliates, in addition to serving low-income families with home ownership, we're going to be helping other low-income families that already exist in our communities with perhaps a brush with kindness maybe doing an exterior paint fix-up or helping with fencing or roofing, perhaps critical repair and even weatherization. And so that's going to allow Habitat to serve more low-income families in our communities in Clallam County. So we'll be working with our cities on that. Thank you, Nathan, for your time, and Patrick for your interest on that as well. And with that, I want to introduce Colleen Robinson, our Community Outreach Director, and she has a quick announcement. Thank you.
So you may see in front of you the way that we're going to do these things and make them come to fruition is we need to raise funds. And one of the ways we're raising funds is we are collaborating with the Jamestown Tribe this Saturday, having a wine festival from 3 to 6 there on Woodcock Road. Love to have you join us. You can buy tickets online or you can buy them at the door. And just another step in the direction in order to fund things that we want to do here for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Hello, Sharon.
Good evening. You will receive a package today in front of you, which is different from the one that I distributed by means of your secretary yesterday. With liberty and justice for all is proclaimed in our Pledge of Allegiance. This City Council is noteworthy for patient and fair consideration of citizen concerns. A previous council, however, took away two basic rights guaranteed by state and national constitutions, or we thought they were, when they prescribed fluoridation of municipal water. The present council now has the knowledge and the power to resume those rights, effective on conclusion of the city contract with the Dental Foundation. Tonight, I ask that you restore those rights. Exhibit 1. Call versus Chehalis. In a 5-4 decision enabling fluoridation, the dissenting 4 state Supreme Court justices in 1954 wrote, "What future proposals may be made to treat non-contagious diseases by adding ingredients to our water supply or food or air, only time will tell. When that day arrives, those who treasure their personal liberty will look in vain for a constitutional safeguard. The answer will be, you gave away the Constitution in the Call case. Please restore our right to control all of our own medication." Exhibit 2, a one-pager, email from the State Department of Health, Joseph Benzovix, to your own Ernie Clinic, City of PA. Department of Health would not object to the discontinuation of fluoridation if the community chooses to do so. Exhibit 3, Newsweek. Fluoridation may not prevent cavities, scientific review shows. The Cochrane review of fluoridation concludes there is no proof that water fluoridation prevents cavities. Fluoridated toothpaste, however, is effective. Water fluoridation causes dental fluorosis, which as of the year 2004 affects 58% of Americans of African heritage and 36% of whites. Dr. Tom Lott testified in 2003 that the York Review 2000 was a gold standard regarding fluoridation. The chair of the advisory board for that review, Professor Trevor Sheldon, Dean of the Hull York Medical School in the United Kingdom states, "I had assumed, because of everything I had heard, that water fluoridation reduces cavities. But I was completely amazed by the lack of evidence," he says. "My prior view was completely reversed." The CDC, even in light of this study, holds to its beliefs regardless. Professor Sheldon observes the CDC and others, quote, "are somehow suspending disbelief. They are all in the mindset that this is a really good thing and just not accepting that they might be wrong." Unquote. This sheds some light on why City Council of 2003 voted for fluoridation. That council mistakenly trusted assurances of doctors and dentists, who in turn trusted CDC. The council relied on authority figures, institutional endorsements, individual beliefs. Quote, "the experts," unquote. Time and science have proven them wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council and taxpayers. First of all, I want to echo Dr. Kennedy's remarks and calling you to stop fluoridating the water. Stop immediately. If you'll recall, when you first put this to a vote before you ever started fluoridation, the people were against it 62%. Now I understand you want to put it to an advisory vote to see what the people want to do. We hired you for leadership, and we expect you to show some leadership. Don't put the community through that vote and having divisive arguments again. Just show them leadership. It only takes 4 of you, and you can stop this at the end of this current contract. Okay, the second thing, let me think what it was. Dang, I nearly forgot, because it's been 2 weeks since it was brought up. Lee suggested that you have 2 comment periods, one before and one at the beginning and one at the end. And something tells me that you guys really don't want input from the community, because the people get to say a few words here before any business is discussed. And then after the business is discussed, we'd like to comment on it. If you're doing something goofy, we'd like to let you know. And let's face it, present company possibly accepted, you have done some goofy things over the years. And there have been people come up here and try to tell you you're doing something goofy, and you went ahead and did goofy things anyway. So my suggestion is have another comment period at the end of the meeting so that the people who are interested enough to get up off their couches and come down here and give you some feedback. It might save you millions of dollars. I make a lot of meetings. I go to the charter review. I go to the county commission. I go to the port commission. All of them have a before and after comment period. And the only reason that you cannot be offering it to the people here in Port Angeles who pay for all these things.
Bob Martin from the county was instrumental. Kevin Galacci of Column Transit. Tina Smith O'Hara supplied all the information for the schools, because education is a huge part of that designation. And then we also had support from our local bicycle businesses, Tom Mikowski of Bike Garage, and then Sam Chandler of Ben's Bike and Squim, who really gave us the initial information to move forward on this. So I want to thank those people who put in a lot of effort to, it was a pretty big survey and a lot of information, and it took all of them to bring that forward. One other thing I want to announce, to continue on education, one of the 5 E's of this, education and encouragement. Next Wednesday, at the waterfront, I've sent out an email to all city staff and all council members that we're going to have a bike ride. So at 5:30, actually meet at 5:15 at the waterfront, you know where Bar Hop is, because we might be there afterwards. But so anyone's invited. So bike ride, we're going to go down Lubick Discovery Trail to the east. There is no distance involved. It's just a leisurely half-hour bike ride out, a leisurely half-hour bike ride in. Perfectly kid and family friendly, so kids on tricycles can come. And it's just 1 hour of having fun out there. So next Wednesday at the waterfront, bring your bike, bring your kids, bring your family, and we'll go down the Olympic Discovery Trail. And then so happens there's music on the pier that night, and bar hop and other establishments can be frequented after the bike ride, where I will be. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're at public comments. Carrie, we have a list of people excited. Thank you. Cynthia Pugh.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Cindy Hewitt. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. We just wanted to take a few minutes and give you an update of what we're doing here in the community. So thank you for this time. As you know, we are building a house here in Maloney Heights, and we had a special group of volunteers about a month ago that joined us, the RV caravanners, that put us 5.5 weeks ahead of our schedule. So we're hoping to be finished probably in the October timeframe. You'll get invitations to the dedication for that, so that's very exciting. The caravanners are a program of Habitat volunteers around the world that travel to different Habitat affiliates and give us 2 weeks of their time, usually in 4 to 5 big rigs like a RV or a fifth wheel. They come into town, stay for 2 weeks, and just work for us. And we just got a report card back, and they said that we were the poster child for the Caravanner program. So we take great pride in that. They've spent days here and the weekends and enjoyed this beautiful area we live in. We currently have 4 rigs working for us out in the Forks area right now as we're building out there as well. So we're going to take advantage of that kind of resource to bring more people here to this area and brag a little bit about the peninsula here. Another thing that we've been working on, we had a really great meeting with Nathan West and also with Patrick, and we're going to be looking at neighborhood revitalization as we go forward. You're going to see that going on with more and more habitat.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How about this presentation? Is someone going to come forward, or are we going to do this for this bicycle? Who's there? Who's here? George? There's George. Okay. George, you want to come on down? Sure. Thank you. Chairperson, you have a presentation you want to make to the city?
I do. I want to grab the sign.
Okay, go ahead. Your presentation. Thank you, Mayor Julia.
Thanks, Gary. On behalf of the Bicycle Advisory Committee, it is my pleasure to present the certificate evidencing our designation by the League of American Bicyclists to the city of Port Angeles and Clallam County. We are now officially a bicycle-friendly community. This was truly a community effort with the public works departments, law enforcement agencies, transit system, Pope PA School District, Peninsula Trails Coalition, as well as various bicycling groups who contributed material content to over 90 questions on the application. This was a long, long application. The League of American Bicyclists has thoughtfully and effectively developed a designation process which guarantees continued effort on the part of the successful applicants, bicycle-friendly communities. What this means, in effect, is that they have asked us to form this Bicycle Advisory Committee, and it is to meet regularly for the next 4 years because our designation only is for 4 years. So the League has shrewdly motivated all of us to keep working on it. In fact, we received a bronze designation, and the next step is silver and then gold. There are several hundred bicycle-friendly communities. There are only 4 platinum level communities. It's very difficult to reach the very highest achievements. But I did want to say that the importance of this is positive change, which involves bicycling in general, which is a lot of fun. But on top of that, it involves community health. I want everyone to know that is really number one. You get people, children, teenagers, young adults, parents, and the elderly, and now even disabled Americans, to get them on bicycles is just a widely accepted good thing. I would say that your Bicycle Advisory Committee has already met twice since we were designated, and we are already working on our reapplication 4 years from now. That is a wonderful set of suggestions by the League, which we are taking to heart, and we will do things that will make us in a stronger position in the very near future. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about another wonderful community that was designated. The Jamestown S'Klallam tribe was the first Native American tribe to ever apply, and it was granted a bronze designation, so we should be all very proud of the fact that our county now has, besides the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe, City of Port Angeles, Clallam County, and City of Sequim. So we have one of the highest numbers of bicycle-friendly communities in the nation. With these brief remarks, I just want to recognize somebody standing over there who I think he wore his bicycle helmet. But as part of the process of being a bicycle-friendly community, you have to have a bicycle program manager, who in effect is the contact person for the League of American Bicyclists. And we all owe a lot of thanks to Craig Fulton to assisting getting the application done and having all the information safely sequestered so that next time we apply, we will have all of the stuff. Last but not least, I just wanted to tell you that the City of Port Angeles is joining 65 million other Americans who live in bicycle-friendly communities. And I'll present this to you.
We're not done yet. So with that sign, we also have a bicycle-friendly community certificate that we can proudly post in our city hall here. But there are a lot of people involved. First off, there's always one person who is the heart and soul of what the group and the what's happening, the event or what have you, and that's George Berger. If it wasn't for George, the idea wouldn't come up. We wouldn't have been getting the kicks in the pants, you know, to schedule the meetings and moving forward and gathering. He knows just about everybody in Port Angeles, and it's the heart and soul of this designation and the future designations with George Berger. But there are a number of other people who are involved that I want to recognize. Randall McCoy, Jeff Bowman, Pat Downey, Terry Gallagher from the Public Safety, Nathan West for planning.